Today's news highlights. Date June 24, 2025. News highlights. The latest research has pointed out that high uric acid is not only related to diet, but also to high insulin caused by obesity. Insulin causes the kidneys to reabsorb uric acid, causing the uric acid concentration to rise. Sedentary office workers, middle-aged people with excessive waist circumference and people with a sweet tooth are high-risk groups. Dietitians recommend stabilizing blood sugar, reducing insulin fluctuations, and taking more magnesium and potassium to help metabolize and excrete uric acid. Only by controlling diet and changing the metabolic environment can we effectively reduce uric acid and improve health. News highlights. Celery juice has become a popular health drink recently due to its antioxidant, blood pressure, and detoxification effects. However, dietitians remind that not everyone is suitable, and there are 7 types of people who need special attention, including poor kidney function, taking anticoagulants, cold constitution, allergies, menstruating women and pregnant women, kidney stones and gastrointestinal sensitivities. These groups may be uncomfortable due to celery's high potassium content, coldness, oxalic acid and other components, so it is recommended to seek professional advice before drinking to ensure good health. News highlights. According to statistics from the Ministry of Transport, the number of pedestrian fatalities decreased slightly after the penalty for vehicles failing to yield to pedestrians was increased. To further deter violations, the maximum fine for failing to stop a pedestrian resulting in minor injuries will be increased to $18,000 and $36,000 for serious injury or death from June 30. In addition, it is proposed to increase the number of years of suspension and revocation of driver's licenses, and the draft amendment has been sent to the Executive Yuan for review, and will be sent to the Legislative Yuan for deliberation in the future, so as to strengthen the protection of pedestrians. News highlights. U.S. President Donald Trump announced on June 23 that Israel and Iran had reached a 12-hour temporary ceasefire agreement, which is expected to be implemented from midnight that night. He said the two sides would complete a ceasefire after the final assignment was completed, and called the clash a 12-day war. Iran and Israel have not yet responded. After the news was released, international oil prices fell sharply, and WTI futures fell by 5.1%, the futures of the 3 major U.S. stock indexes rose simultaneously, and market sentiment stabilized. News highlights. Taiwan has officially entered a new era of dementia treatment, and many companies, including Uni-President, Tico, Kista, Sufu and Shenghong, are actively deploying the new drug and testing market. TML6, a new AD drug developed by Meili Biomedical Co., Limited, which was reinvested by Uni-President Group, has been approved by the US FDA for Phase 2 clinical trials. Tico's subsidiary, Asahi Biotech, will also submit a marketing application for dementia developer, while other companies will invest in drug development, AI testing, and raw material supply, demonstrating Taiwan's innovation momentum in the global dementia prevention and treatment field. News highlights. Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, warned of the imminent collapse of the global monetary system and called on people to avoid fiat currencies and bonds and instead hold on to assets such as gold, silver, and Bitcoin to preserve their wealth. He pointed out that silver is the best investment option in June 2025, because the price of gold and Bitcoin is already at a high point, and will wait for the price to fall before adding weight. He emphasized that if we do not change the outdated concept of money, we will only get poorer in the future. News highlights. In response to the high temperature in summer, the Ministry of Labor announced a new version of the Thermal Hazard Prevention Guidelines, expanding the protection objects to delivery workers, card holders, etc. From June to September, 105 special labor inspections will be launched, and violators can be fined up to 300,000 yuan. The new guidelines emphasize the provision of shading, cooling, and rest facilities, as well as an improved tracking mechanism, and are expected to conduct 1,000 reviews. Minister Hong Shenhan said that at present, he will not consider taking a high-temperature holiday, emphasizing the principle of focus protection. News highlights. After the U.S. military bombed Iran's 3 nuclear facilities, Iran threatened to blockade the Strait of Hormuz in retaliation, raising concerns about soaring global oil prices. The strait, which transports about 20 million barrels of crude oil per day, could hit global energy supplies hard, particularly in China and Europe. Experts believe Iran may choose to interfere rather than impose a total blockade so as not to provoke China and have serious consequences. Taiwan's Ministry of Economic Affairs assessed that the blockade will push up the pressure on oil and electricity prices, but the current domestic oil storage is sufficient to prevent oil shortage. News highlights. On the road to success, some zodiac signs know how to rely on themselves, do not rely on external help, and firmly believe that the greatest noble person is themselves. Ox people are known for their tenacity and steadfastness, and they can overcome difficulties on their own. Tiger people are brave and decisive, and use their intuition to meet challenges. Snake people are calm and rational, and are good at independent analysis and problem solving. Dragons are full of self-confidence, strong leadership, and create brilliance with perseverance and wisdom. These zodiac signs are all self-made and can achieve extraordinary lives on their own. News highlights. Some girls are not only attractive in appearance, but also become their husbands' gods of wealth with kindness and wisdom. The Libra woman is elegant and sensible, good at mediating conflicts, bringing harmony and good luck to the family. The Pisces woman is romantic and intuitive, able to provide support in times of difficult times for her partner and enhance her career fortune. The Taurus woman is pragmatic and steady, manages her money wisely, and contributes to the family's financial stability and growth. The Cancer woman is warm, loving, delicate, and considerate, and is the strongest backing for her partner. Marrying these zodiac sign women is definitely full of blessings. News highlights: U.S. President Donald Trump announced on the evening of June 23 that Israel and Iran had agreed to a ceasefire, which would begin around midnight ET. The White House revealed that the ceasefire agreement was reached after the U.S. military attacked 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. Israel promised Iran to stop the attack, and the two sides completed the agreement under the mediation of the United States and Qatar. Iran's foreign minister, who said he had not formally signed a ceasefire, said he had no intention of continuing to respond if Israel stopped its attacks. On the same day, Iran launched 14 missiles at a U.S. military base in Qatar, all of which were successfully intercepted by Qatar and the U.S. Patriot air defense system, with no casualties. Trump called for peace on all sides. Global markets reacted on the news, oil prices fell, and stocks rose. News highlights: global geopolitical tensions, especially the escalation of the situation in the Middle East caused by the U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear facilities, led to a surge in oil prices and a sharp drop in Taiwan stocks on the 23rd, and the index fell below the monthly and semi-annual lines. Iran threatens to block the strategic Strait of Hormuz, and while the risk is considered low, market unease has increased. The legal person pointed out that the war has brought short-term shocks, but the company has responded in advance, and the selling pressure is expected to be gradually absorbed. Looking forward to the second half of the year, the demand for AI is still strong, the profit growth momentum of Taiwan-listed companies is stable, the price-to-earnings ratio is relatively reasonable, and there is still fundamental support in the long run. News highlights: benefiting from the government's promotion of grid resilience and green energy construction, as well as the expansion of AI data centers in the United States, heavy power concept stocks have once again become the focus of the market. Huachan successfully entered the Stargate project in Texas, USA, and obtained an order of 2 billion yuan, and its revenue is expected to increase significantly from 2026. Shidian's export revenue exceeded 10 billion, orders were stable, and it actively expanded production and laid out the new energy market. The legal person is optimistic about the 3 arrows of policy, application, and export, and the heavy power industry will become a popular target for long-term growth. News highlights: BID's global sales jumped to the 5th place, and it plans to have Hong Kong company Swire Motors act as its agent in Taiwan and start recruiting dealers. Taiwan's regulations prohibit the import and assembly of vehicles from Chinese mainland, but do not prohibit the export of Chinese vehicles through third places, such as Thailand, which may become a loophole in the place of origin. The Ministry of Economic Affairs stressed that BID has not yet obtained the Ministry of Transportation's model qualification certificate, and cannot legally sell it, and will be severely punished if it violates the regulations. The competent authorities have a strict attitude and rigorous review, but the industry believes that BID's coming to Taiwan is unstoppable, and the key is to establish and improve regulations to ensure market order. News highlights: the Legislative Yuan passed an amendment to the law on the protection of the rights and interests of the physically and mentally handicapped, changing the name of the fraternity seat to the priority seat, and the applicable objects were expanded from the elderly, infirm, women and children to those with disabilities or actual needs, and the proportion remained at least 15%. Drawing on the practices of the United Kingdom, South Korea, and Japan, this move aims to avoid controversies and generational antagonism, and emphasizes social mutual assistance and care. In the future, there will be clearer signage, in line with advocacy to promote civic awareness, reminding people that giving up their seats first is based on care rather than compulsion. News highlights: after the U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran may block the key shipping lane, the Strait of Hormuz, in retaliation, which could affect global energy supplies. Economy Minister Guo Zhihui said that less than 20% of Taiwan's crude oil and natural gas imports pass through the strait, and a blockade would lengthen transit times and push up oil prices. A 10% increase in oil prices is estimated to raise the price index, CPI, by about 0.3 percentage points. The Ministry of Economic Affairs is continuing to monitor the situation and formulate a response plan, and the Executive Yuan is also highly concerned about the impact of the situation in the Middle East on the domestic economy. News highlights: with the rapid rise of Taiwan's energy storage industry, Lin Shens, chairman of Zidal, insisted on independent technology research and development, and developed from a team of 3 people to a listed company with the largest battery module automated production line in Taiwan. In the face of financial, manpower and technical challenges, Zidal has successfully built an AI intelligent management system, and actively expanded domestic and foreign case sites, becoming a local energy storage leader. With the soaring demand for renewable energy and energy storage, Zidal continues to deepen its technology and market layout to seize the behind-the-meter energy storage market and contribute to Taiwan's energy transition and net zero goals. News highlights: biodiversity credit has become a new focus of global conservation, channeling funds to invest in habitat conservation and restoration by quantifying the value of nature. Although the global market is still in its infancy and faces challenges such as fragmentation of standards, lack of trust in companies, and disputes over substitutability, Taiwan already has the technical foundation and conservation experience to establish a credible local system. In the future, the government needs to take the lead in formulating standards and regulations, improve transparency and trust, and promote the integration of natural resources into the economic cycle, so as to achieve a win-win situation between conservation and investment, and contribute to sustainable development. News highlights: a new active fault of about 60 to 70 kilometers long has been discovered off the Kunisaki Peninsula in Oita Prefecture, Japan, which is mainly transverse dislocation, and if the whole rupture is possible, it may cause a strong earthquake with a scale of more than 7, posing a threat to Kyushu and the Yamaguchi area. Although the probability of causing a large-scale tsunami is low, the shock and damage cannot be ignored. The Oita prefectural government has included the fault in the earthquake hazard prediction and will update the early warning data in 2026. Experts emphasize that this move will continue to investigate and improve disaster prevention strategies, drawing lessons from the 2024 Noto Peninsula earthquake that failed to be accurately prepared due to faults not being included in the assessment. News highlights: iris recognition technology has become a new trend in digital identity verification because it is unique and unchanged for life. OpenAI CEO Altman's World ID has set off a craze in Taiwan for eyeballs for virtual currency, with more than 12 million people using a dedicated device orb to scan their irises in exchange for cryptocurrency. However, iris is a special personal information under the Personal Information Law, and experts and the Ministry of Digital Development warn that it is difficult to remedy the leakage of iris data, and there is a risk of information security. Countries have tightened regulation of this technology, and the public should carefully assess the risks and avoid providing iris information at will. News highlights: Joe rarely posted a cute photo of his 3-year-old daughter Jacinda on the 23rd, wearing a checked sundress on the back, and her hair tied up with a small hair ring, which looks super cute, attracting praise from netizens. Fans are curious about whether their daughter's hair was tied by her father. In fact, Kunling shared a warm picture of Jacinda personally helping Jacinda cut her hair in March this year, showing full of fatherly love. News highlights: Tang Jie, Huang Tang, a famous martial arts instructor in Hong Kong, fell to his death in Jordan on the 23rd at the age of 88. Tang Jie was once the royal martial artist of director Zhang Che of Shaw Brothers Films, participated in many classic works such as One-Armed Knife and Golden Swallow, and was good at weapon design, leaving a deep imprint on martial arts films. He has been married to his wife Xue Enai for 56 years, the two have a deep relationship, and it is rumored that Xue Enai suffered from pancreatic cancer, and the serious illness affected Tang Jie's mood. News highlights: after Iran fired a number of missiles at U.S. bases in Qatar and Iraq in response to U.S. airstrikes on its nuclear facilities, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Iran, and the two sides agreed to a comprehensive ceasefire to end the 12-day war. Trump said that after the ceasefire, the two sides will complete the final task, and the war will officially end. The conflict erupted over the destruction of Iran's nuclear facilities by the United States and Israel, and the two sides reached a peace consensus after a fierce confrontation. News highlights: De Ying and Sun Anzuo, the son of Sun Peng, were recently witnessed standing topless on the streets of Baitu, with a loose expression and bandages on his hands, which worried the outside world. Sun Anzuo served for 4 months at the end of last year, retired from the army in April this year, and was recently invited to participate in the second season of Boxing Star, and still continues to share his training status. The agent revealed that he has been in poor shape recently, and due to the special growth environment, it is difficult to adapt to social pressure, and his tolerance to frustration is low, so he needs to adjust himself. De Ying and Sun Peng also cared about his situation, but they could only wait for him to get out of the predicament by himself. News highlights: lawyer Lu Whiting reminded that the scene of the car accident should not be said did not see, because the police transcript will determine that attention should be paid to not paying attention, so that the responsibility will increase from 0 to 40% instantly. He suggested that the correct way to say it was to observe that there was a slowdown, and the other party suddenly rushed out, and the emergency brake still hit. In addition, when you are unsure of the speed, do not arbitrarily admit to speeding. You can say that you drive according to the speed limit, and you need to refer to the dashcam to clarify. If you are hit by a vehicle behind you due to giving way to pedestrians, do not easily admit secondary liability to avoid disputes over medical expenses and compensation. Lawyer Lu emphasized that the scene of the car accident should be calm, do not admit that it is not your own responsibility, and ask a lawyer to help clarify if necessary. News highlights: legislator Lin Dehua was accused of fraudulently receiving assistant fees by means of head assistants during his tenure as a legislator, involving millions of yuan. The investigation found that his cousin and eldest brother and daughter-in-law were listed as assistants but did not actually take up their posts, and even had an abnormal monthly salary of up to 210,000 yuan. Lin denied committing the crime, saying that it was normal for his family to support the election, and issued a statement to cry out for grievances. Prosecutors found that she had falsely reported her salary and evaded responsibility, and charged her with embezzlement. News highlights: the man surnamed Xiao in Keelung used to get rich by running a hotel, and bought more than 80,000 square meters of land around the new Taipei Rufang Hutong station, but after his death in 2004, the debt was huge, and his children chose to abandon the inheritance, leaving more than 5 million yuan in inheritance tax unpaid. The Administrative Executive Office will auction the land in 4 bids, with a total reserve price of about 150 million yuan, less than 3,200 yuan per ping, but due to its remote location and forestry land, it will only be used for forestry in the future. News highlights: the Ministry of Health and Welfare announced that cancer will kill 54,032 people in 2024, of which colorectal cancer, including colon, rectum, and anus, ranks third among the top 10 causes of death. Physician Huang Xian warned that colorectal cancer is younger, and sugary drinks such as milk tea and cola are the main causes, and the risk is even higher than that of sausages and bacon. Drinking 2 cups of sugary drinks a day increases the risk of cancer by 2.18 times. Another doctor, Zhong Yuni, reminded that the 5 major signs of colorectal cancer include bleeding, sudden weight loss, changes in bowel movements, tenesmus, and thinning of the stool, and symptoms should be checked as soon as possible. News highlights: Chen Xingyu, the daughter of former President Chen Shui-bian, bought the 37th floor of the 7th phase of Taichung's luxury house Lianzhou Fangting building for 87.5 million yuan in 2012, and after many unsuccessful price reductions and sales, she finally sold it for 85 million yuan after holding it for 12 years, with a book loss of 2.5 million yuan, and if you add the holding cost, it is estimated that the loss will exceed 8 million yuan. The buyer is a businesswoman with a construction background who lives in the same building, and she successfully bought it at a low price because she bought it in full cash, which can be called buy to earn. News highlights: Mr. Wu, 45, has been overweight since he was a child, and his fattest weight was 280 kilograms, and he has not left home for 6 years. After 5 years of assistance from Taipei Zuchi Hospital and volunteers to control diet and exercise, he underwent gastric reduction surgery in 2023, and subsequently removed 4.5 kilograms of skin growth, and his current weight has dropped to 80 kilograms. Doctors pointed out that gastric reduction surgery is less risky than gastric bypass, which can effectively improve satiety, but patients still need self-discipline to prevent weight loss. Experts call on obesity to be regarded as a disease and to choose the appropriate way to lose weight through professional assessment. News highlights: Lin Boang has recently been involved in a family debt turmoil. According to reports, his father was accused of owing his brother a huge debt for many years, and although he signed a debt agreement in 2023, the debt was not settled, causing family conflicts. It is rumored that Lin Boang was dissatisfied with his father's holding a family meeting to discuss debts. His emotions were out of control, and he even spoke harshly, making his father depressed and sent to the hospital after drinking. However, Lin's father denied that his son had scolded him, saying that the debt was a thing of the past, and Lin Boang did not know about it. News highlights: 53-year-old variety show actor Xiao Zhong is still single and unmarried, and recently admitted in a conversation with Zhan Weishong that one person is doing well, laughing at himself that his right hand is the only girlfriend, and humorously said it's sad to hear the sound of popping. Zhan Weishong also spoke for him, hoping that the outside world would stop urging him to get married. Xiao Zhong once said that he was wealthy, and although he went on a blind date with a divorced woman, he had too much consideration to no avail. He also shared his experience of being urged to marry by his elders, and laughed that he fought back at the funeral to change you next, showing his freedom and open-mindedness towards single life. News highlights: the US military attacked Iran's nuclear facilities on the 21st, and Iran launched missiles to retaliate against the US military base in Qatar on the 23rd, but fortunately most of them were intercepted. Former US President Trump announced on the 23rd that Israel and Iran reached a phased ceasefire agreement, with Iran first ceasefire for 12 hours, Israel then ceasefire for 12 hours, and the conflict is expected to end within 24 hours. Trump said that the 12-day war threatens to destroy the Middle East if it continues, and praised both sides for showing courage and wisdom to end the fighting. News highlights: in more than 40 hours, a $2 billion long-range mission on the B-2 stealth bomber, the key to the pilot's success was a turkey sandwich. Retired pilot Basham revealed that pilots must undergo rigorous sleep and nutrition training before the mission to control their diet and improve wakefulness and sleep quality. The B-2 flight cabin is cramped and has only one chemical toilet, and dietary management is particularly important. The biggest challenge was the multiple in-flight refueling during the mission, and the pilot had to refuel blindly while exhausted. Despite advanced technology, the physical and psychological limits of pilots are the key to mission success. News highlights: on the evening of the 19th, Li Zhengao, a famous mouth, was attacked by a man surnamed Wu with chili water outside the Nia Hosanli TV station in Taipei. The police investigation found that Wu Nan and 3 accomplices had arrived at the scene to investigate the day before, and they had cooperated to carry out the attack on the same day. Surveillance cameras show that Wu Su wandered around the scene early and planned the operation, and escaped on a motorcycle after committing the crime and deliberately evaded the monitors. The task force yesterday arrested 3 accomplices, who are being investigated in accordance with the Organized Crime Ordinance, and whether gangs are involved is still under investigation. News highlights: Iran on Monday retaliated against U.S. military missiles fired at bases in Iraq and Qatar after U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend. Following U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that Israel and Iran have reached a comprehensive ceasefire agreement, and Qatar is helping to persuade Iran to accept. However, Iranian Foreign Minister Arakchi denied the existence of a ceasefire agreement, emphasizing that Israel is the initiator of the war, and said that if Israel stops its attacks before 4 a.m. Tehran time, Iran will also stop fighting back, and the final decision on military action will be announced later. News highlights: in response to the escalation of the situation in the Taiwan Strait, Japan is actively strengthening the defense of the southwestern outlying islands, and plans to establish air defense facilities in 5 municipalities and villages on the Sakishima Islands in Okinawa, among which Yonaguni Town will be the first to open underground shelters by the end of 2027. The Japanese government has drawn up an evacuation plan for 120,000 outlying island residents under the Taiwan incident, with the goal of transferring residents to Kyushu within 6 days, and the shelter is designed to accommodate hundreds of people for about 2 weeks. This move is an important measure for the United States and Japan to strengthen the defense of outlying islands and the security of citizens in response to China's possible attack on Taiwan in 2027. News highlights: Chinese internet celebrity Xiao Yi was forced to return to rural China to live after his residence permit was cancelled because he stepped on the red line in China. Recently, she filmed a video of drenching water, choking up to express the bitterness and loneliness of marrying far away, describing her mood as uncomfortable as being splashed with water. However, as soon as the video came out, Douyin netizens complained about it, questioning her as useless and "you have to accept it if you choose," and left a sneering message. The current situation of Xiao Yi reflects the life gap and mood struggle faced by returning internet celebrities, which has aroused heated discussions on the internet. News highlights: the Labor Insurance Bureau revealed that 4 professional trade unions, Taipei Hair and Beauty, Dawen Rental Management, Tainan Religious Service and Chi Newspaper, had overdue labor premiums, suspended payment and prohibited the continued collection of insurance premiums in advance, and called on members not to pay any more. If the member can provide proof of payment, he or she can still apply for payment. Those who are unable to prove the fee must pay the fee in full. The Labor Insurance Bureau emphasizes that members should keep payment receipts, and trade union directors and supervisors must strengthen financial supervision to protect labor rights and interests. News highlights: CNN reported that Iranian state media announced on the 24th that it had implemented a ceasefire against the enemy after launching a retaliatory missile attack on the U.S. military base in Al-Udeid, Qatar. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps said the move was a response to U.S. aggression and said the people were united and determined to defend the homeland. The effective date of the ceasefire is not known. The New York Times noted that Israel has not yet responded, but the Iranian military continues to launch missile attacks against Israel. News highlights: Typhoon number 2 of this year has formed and will continue to approach Kanto, Japan, and may weaken in intensity when approaching, and will have no impact on Taiwan. Affected by the periphery of high pressure this afternoon, there will be hot convective rain in mountainous areas, and there may be brief heavy rain in local areas of Taipei, Yunnan, and Hualien on the flatlands, with the temperature reaching 33 to 36 degrees Celsius or more. In the next few days, the disturbance of low pressure over the South China Sea will gradually approach Guangdong, and Taiwan will be affected by its peripheral airflow, and thunderstorms will be concentrated in the western half of the afternoon with the possibility of localized heavy rain, and the temperature will continue to be hot. After the weekend, the high-level cold front and low pressure will stay away, and the afternoon thunderstorm will continue. From the end of June to the beginning of July, a monsoon low trough and a new system may form, and the impact on Taiwan needs to be continuously observed. News highlights: recently, a female college student in mainland China was scammed by phone, and after the police used DeepSeek to verify their identity, they successfully defrauded a fraud group and successfully defrauded back about 425 yuan, about NT $1,900. She was first released 205 yuan by the other party, and then induced to get 220 yuan, then withdrew and called the police, which was praised by the police. However, her bank account was frozen for a month due to the flow of funds involved in a fraudulent syndicate. She reminded the public to not listen, do not believe, and do not transfer money in case of fraud, and did not recommend imitating her anti-fraud actions to avoid the risk of violating the law, stressing that it is the right thing to do to report to the police. News highlights: the director of a school in Dawen posted a large number of photos of female students in the line group, and claimed to have hugged female students, and half-jokingly mentioned that the wolf teacher abducted students in the name of graduation and other remarks, which caused a strong backlash from netizens. City Councillor Wang Kai-Wei criticized her inappropriate words and deeds, and demanded a thorough investigation by the police and the Education Bureau. The school has launched an investigation and notified the relevant units, and will check whether there are any students who have been victimized, and hold a school meeting on Thursday to discuss the follow-up treatment. The Education Bureau stressed that it will review measures such as suspension of employment in accordance with regulations, and strengthen gender equality education to enhance campus safety and self-protection capabilities. News highlights: a driver who bit a McDonald's McFragrant chicken burger during a road check was lit up by the alcohol screener, making him exclaim that he was just eating a hamburger. Subsequently, the test was retested with a qualified alcohol tester, and the result was no alcohol reaction, which proved innocence. Experts point out that starchy foods or fermented foods such as bread and lychee will produce trace amounts of ethanol due to yeast fermentation in the mouth, resulting in misjudgment. The police emphasized that the primary screening device is for reference only, and the retest has legal effect, and it is recommended to rinse your mouth after eating and rest before taking an alcohol test to avoid misunderstanding. News highlights: the ex-dividend of container stocks has been launched one after another. High-2615, ex-dividend on the 24th, with a dividend of 3.5 yuan per share, opening at 95.7 yuan, and quickly rising to 98.7 yuan in just 20 minutes, successfully completing the interest filling. On the 23rd, the three major corporations bought more than 1,437 contracts in total, and the market was strong. Although Evergreen, 2603, which was ex-dividend for the first time, was still discounted, its stock price rebounded on the 24th, rising nearly 2% intraday. Yangming Shipping, 2609, is expected to pay ex-dividend on July 9, with an interest distribution of 7.5 yuan, and the ex-dividend performance has also attracted much attention. News highlights: Foreign Minister Lin Jialong announced on the 23rd that holders of Taiwanese passports can enter Brunei without a visa from now on for a stay of up to 14 days. This is the third new southbound visa-free pilot country after Thailand and the Philippines, demonstrating Taiwan's achievements in promoting reciprocal diplomacy. Lin Jialong said that this move will promote exchanges between Taiwan and Bunka in the fields of economy, trade, tourism, culture, and education, and looks forward to further upgrading bilateral relations. News highlights: in the past, wars in the Middle East often triggered a spike in oil prices, but with the United States becoming the world's largest oil producer, this pattern is being rewritten. Iran's recent attack on a U.S. military base in Qatar has led to fears of a surge in oil prices, but instead fell as U.S. shale oil production capacity surged, reducing dependence on Middle East oil routes. Saudi Arabia has tried to drive down oil prices to hit shale oil, but has been forced to increase production to compete for market share. Although Iran has the ability to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, considering its own interests and that of its allies, the likelihood of a short-term blockade is low. Experts point out that shale oil production will continue to increase, maintaining the energy advantage of the United States, but there are still peak production and demand challenges in the future. News highlights: Taiwan's declining birth rate and ultra-aging society have arrived ahead of schedule, and it will take 30 years for the impact on the housing market to appear. There are more than 5 million houses with an age of more than 30 years in the country, and young people prefer to live independently in the city, and the number of households in Liudo continues to increase, driving the demand for new homes. Li Zhenji, honorary chairman of the All China Federation of Commerce, called on the government to accelerate the promotion of the new investment immigration law, introduce high-quality immigrants to stabilize the population structure, enhance the country's competitiveness and the vitality of the housing market, and prevent the population crisis from becoming a national security issue. News highlights: Tesla launched a trial operation of unmanned taxis in Austin, Texas, USA on the 22nd, using 10 Model YS. The service time is from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, only operating in designated areas, charging $4.20, and the car is still equipped with safety officers and remote workers. Compared with Waymo, which has provided completely unmanned driving, Tesla is still in the catch-up stage, and its technical route is mainly based on pure visual perception and self-developed FSD platform, abandoning radar and high-precision maps, and relying on AI chip computing power. Taiwan's Shexin KY and Li Auto are expected to develop self-developed chips by the end of the year, and MediaTek and Huida are cooperating to develop high-end intelligent driving chips. News highlights: the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Taiwan Non-Discrimination Act today, instructing the United States to actively support Taiwan's accession to the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The bill, CO-sponsored by Republican Kim Ying-yu and Democratic Party Green, stresses that Taiwan should enjoy the qualifications to participate in the IMF's economic supervision, technical assistance, and personnel. The sponsor pointed out that China may use tariffs and stock markets to undermine Taiwan's financial system, and joining the IMF will help strengthen Taiwan's financial resilience. The bill also cites cases to illustrate that non-UN members can still join the IMF, which is now pending Senate approval and sent to the President for signature and entry into force. News highlights: after the death of the well-known stand-up comedian Tien Cripple, his girlfriend He Long and actress Albi were photographed traveling intimately to Japan together, and they were suspected of seamlessly connecting. Lin Yanfei, a friend of Tianzu, publicly accused He Long of impregnating Tian Kai but forcing him to have an abortion, describing that Tianzu's body was seriously injured, and He Long did not accompany him to visit. Lin Yanfei bitterly criticized He Long for avoiding the important and choosing to make public his private suicide note to hurt relatives and friends, and said that the main reason for the breakup was that Tian Kai was too fat, and decided to stand up for Tian Xuan to seek justice. News highlights Ke Zhendong's mansion in Taipei's East District has been leaking from the ceiling of his downstairs neighbor since 2019 due to the bathroom being moved and raised in 2015. The Taipei Institute of Architects identified and confirmed that it was caused by the renovation of the Ke family, and the court ruled that the Ke family should compensate the neighbor 238,155 yuan. Ke Zhendong once published the interior of the mansion on YouTube, showing a retro collection in comic hero dolls, but the tens of millions of yuan decoration caused a water leakage dispute, which eventually led to a lawsuit. News highlights in order to accompany the growth of his 10-year-old son, actor Yuan Shunzili Yulan's second life spent about 30 million yuan to buy Taoxianqiu and convert it into a Japanese-style homestay, and opened a barbecue restaurant with a joint venture of more than 7 million yuan with friends, with a revenue of more than 2 million yuan in 3 months and stable profits. Yuan Shun emphasized that drama is still the main business, and he travels back and forth between Yulan and Ling Kao studios every day to enjoy the rhythm of life. He is also actively involved in the Children's Education Foundation, deeply cultivating the Yulan community, hoping that children can grow up in a stress-free environment. News highlights Tang Jie, Huang Tang, a famous martial arts instructor in Hong Kong, fell to his death on June 23 at the age of 88 on the roof of his residence in Tsim Sha Tsui. The preliminary police investigation found no suicide note, and the cause of death is pending post-mortem confirmation. It is reported that Tang Jie is suspected of being worried about his wife Swinny's long-term hospitalization for pancreatic cancer, and may be on a desperate road. Tang Jie used to be Zhang Che's royal martial arts instructor, joined TVB in the 1980s, and is a senior in the martial arts industry. The news shocked the entertainment industry, and the Hong Kong Action Stuntman Guild said that it would respect the family and provide assistance. News highlights according to the statistics of the Ministry of Labor, 37% of the population will work overtime in 2024, with an average of 14 hours of overtime per month, and even more than 20 hours in the manufacturing industry. Long-term overwork not only affects mental health, but also leads to chronic diseases and brain aging. According to the World Health Organization, about 750,000 people die from overwork each year, increasing the risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke. Doctors remind that symptoms such as persistent fatigue, lack of sleep, and poor diet should be vigilant, and in severe cases, they should seek medical attention as soon as possible. Traditional Chinese medicine recommends acupressure and stress relief methods to relieve overwork and avoid cardiovascular diseases. News highlights Chinese medicine practitioner Wu Qinfan recommends daily consumption of Qing lotus root soup to alleviate stubborn problems such as high blood pressure, back pain, and sequelae of stroke. Lotus root is cool and sweet, raw food can clear heat and stop bleeding, cooked food can nourish the spleen and stomach, promote blood circulation and blood stasis, promote the patency of blood vessels, and is known as a vascular scavenger. It is recommended to drink 1 bowl in the morning and 1 bowl in the evening for more than 2 months to help repair tissues and improve chronic diseases. Physician Wu reminds to avoid stewing with pork, because pork will block the blood veins and affect the efficacy of lotus root, so it is best to boil lotus root simply for better results. News highlights the Taipei Criminal University investigated a drug case and accidentally seized the former godfather of counterfeit banknotes Liu Yij of the 4 Cs gang, who reappeared in the rivers and lakes, involved in counterfeit money and drug trafficking. The police seized more than 12.75 million yuan of counterfeit banknotes, and Liu was suspected of obtaining banknote making materials through the internet and paper factories. From March to May this year, the special case team arrested 9 suspects, including Liu and K, and seized a large amount of drugs, air guns, and drug-making equipment. The police reminded the public to stay vigilant against the circulation of counterfeit banknotes. News highlights on the evening of June 21, Eastern Time, U.S. President Donald Trump ordered the launch of an air raid codenamed Midnight Hammer, sending 7 B-2 Ghost bombers, supported by air tankers, to drop bunker-penetrating GBU-57 bombs on Iran's Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan nuclear facilities, and the U.S. submarine launched Tomahawk missiles to coordinate the attack. The operation took more than 30 hours, did not make a stopover landing, and the mission successfully destroyed a number of underground facilities, making it the largest B-2 operation in the history of the U.S. military. The chairman of the Joint Staff called the operation precise and unintercepted, which was strategically important. News highlights a total of 273 earthquakes were felt in the Togara Islands from June 21 to 23, and although the intensity was not strong, the frequent shaking made it difficult for the Icelanders to sleep. Yukihiro Nakaya, an assistant professor of seismology at Kagoshima University, warned that this wave of earthquakes is an inland earthquake within the Eurasian plate, concentrated in the coastal waters of the Tokara Islands and the north of Koho Island, and may last for a few days to a week, and strong earthquakes may occur at any time, urging residents to prepare for earthquakes. In the past, there have been hundreds of group earthquakes in this area, with the largest scale reaching 6.1 and a seismic intensity of 5. The meteorological observatory stressed that it is not yet possible to predict when the earthquake will end. News highlights: Liao Jun, a 72-year-old veteran artist, suffered a stroke for the third time in April this year, and was admitted to the intensive care unit due to cerebral hemorrhage, and has returned home to recuperate after being hospitalized for 55 days. His son Liao Jinda recently exposed the rehabilitation picture. Liao Jun's legs are thin and haggard, and his appearance is sour. Liao Jinda plays the role of father and son, accompanying his father to exercise during the day and playing ball with his children at night, admitting that the pressure is heavy. During the stroke incident, family care controversy also sparked, and housework once became the focus of public opinion. News highlights: actress Sunning, Lala, recently revealed on the show that her ex-husband had unfortunately passed away, and the news came suddenly, making her sad and crying for 2 days. She learned the news of her ex-husband's death when she was dealing with her daughter's household registration affairs, and admitted that she was deeply touched by the impermanence of life. Although she has been divorced for many years and the other party has remarried, she still took the initiative to contact her ex-husband's family to confirm whether the cause of death was related to a genetic disease, and finally learned that it was an accidental death. News highlights: before the summit, NATO Secretary General Rutte expressed deep concern about the threat posed by China's military expansion to stability in the Asia-Pacific region and Europe, and named the situation in Taiwan as one of the global risks. He stressed the need for NATO to prepare for the compound threat of a possible alliance between China and Russia, and proposed increasing defense spending to 5% of GDP. Rutte also reaffirmed his support for Ukraine and strengthened cooperation with Indo-Pacific countries to cope with China's rapid military growth. News highlights: the Kunyang store, the only branch of the chain steakhouse aristocratic family in Taipei City, will close on June 30 and move to Bengqiao, New Taipei, causing reluctance from regular customers. Founded in 1995, the aristocratic family has more than 200 stores in Taiwan, and now there are less than 30 left, due to the fierce competition for affordable steaks, which has led to a decline in popularity. After the lights went out in the Kunyang store, there was only one store left in Taipei City, the Noble Mini. News highlights: a tour group of a company in New Taipei stayed at the Caesar Hotel in Kenting on the 22nd, and many people had fever, vomiting, diarrhea and other symptoms after breakfast the next day, and 7 people were sent to the hospital. The Kaohsiung Municipal Health Bureau initially investigated as suspected food poisoning, which occurred in Pingtung, and was subsequently handed over to the Pingtung County Health Bureau for investigation. The hotel said that it cooperated with the investigation and emphasized that the catering operation was in line with hygiene norms, and there was no abnormal condition for other guests. News highlights: in recent years, cancer prevention and treatment has attracted much attention, and nutrition experts have pointed out that cruciferous vegetables such as cauliflower, cabbage, and cabbage are rich in anti-cancer ingredient isothiocyanate, which has antioxidant, anti-inflammatory and detoxification functions. This nutrient is produced when vegetables are chopped, chewed, or heated, and it is recommended to steam them lightly for 3 to 4 minutes to retain the enzymes. If it needs to be heated, it can be eaten with mustard sauce to replenish the invertase lost due to high temperature to help retain more anti-cancer effects. News highlights: former Dawon Mayor Zhang Binkan was prosecuted in connection with the development of the Huaya Science and Technology Park, and key audio recordings show that the venue was an official meeting of the city government, and Zhang did not privately promise assistance, but stressed that the development could only be carried out with the full consent of the landlords. The lawyer pointed out that the indictment omitted circumstances to create the illusion of a secret meeting. The legality of the surveillance evidence was also questioned, while the prosecution stressed that there was no untruth in the surveillance in accordance with the law, and the relevant disputes would be clarified by the courts. News highlights: about 51 hectares of hillside land in Kaohsiung City's Dasha district and Shanli have been developed into photovoltaic fields, causing controversy over deforestation and destruction of landforms. Mayor Chen Kamai said that the Energy Agency of the Ministry of Economic Affairs had been asked to revoke the development permit and called on prosecutors to investigate the truth. The city government found that the construction had been extended to the non-development zone, imposed fines on several occasions, and demanded that the facilities be demolished and restored to their original appearance. Chen Kamai stressed that similar cases will not be approved in the future, and priority will be given to ensuring the safety of people's lives and property.